Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the Social.in account. I'm your host Pradeep, and on this episode of the Social Media Weekly, we're talking about Google adding some community feed features to Google Maps, we're talking about Microsoft acquiring Smash.gg, and we're talking about the first Indian case to the Facebook Oversight Board. Let's get started. So the first story we have for you today is about Google Maps and their community feed. Last year, Google Maps actually announced a feature wherein you could follow local guides. Now, if you go to community feed, you will see lists because of course they have lists. Apart from that, you'll also see posts from local businesses in the GMB tab. And what's interesting here is that while at present, this is not based on your location, in the future, I'm pretty sure Google wants to build a localized Instagram. Our next story has to do with Google acquiring Actifio. So what is Actifio? They're a data continuity company. What is data continuity? Well, as an organization, you might have large amounts of information, but what happens to that information when there's a data security breach or a natural disaster? Well, that's where Actifio comes in. According to data publicly available, in 2014, this company was valued at about $1 billion. In 2018, they were valued at $1.3 billion. And in 2020, they had a discount of over 60%. So Google probably bought them for about $600 million. What's interesting here is that Actifio integrates with a whole host of technologies, including Microsoft SQL, PostgreSQL, and SAP's HANA. Our next story has to do with the controversial firing of AI scientist Timnit Gebru. Okay, so I think I pronounced that right. Anyway, the scientist is very famous for her research on the importance of training data for artificial intelligence. For example, you have artificial intelligence, which is used in facial recognition, and if all the training data you give it is of white people, then it will obviously fail to recognize black people. The scientist had recently published a paper, and apparently Google wanted her to change it. She said, if you accept some simple conditions, I will stay, else I will set my last date of employment. Google said thank you very much and fired her. Over 1,200 signatories have already signed a letter condemning this firing. Our next story has to do with Microsoft's acquisition of Smash.gg. So Smash.gg was started in 2015 as a Super Smash Bros. Tournament hosting company for Nintendo Switch users. Now it's expanded to a whole host of games, and Microsoft has bought it because it's a complete management, payment, and analytics company for esports tournaments for grassroots organizations as well as large organizations. Microsoft, I'll remind you, has already bought Bethesda, so this is probably a plan in action. Although they did buy Beam, turn it into Mixer, and then shut it down. Our final story of today has to do with Facebook's first Indian case to their Oversight Board. Their Oversight Board is theoretically an independent organization to which cases can be referred for content moderation. And apparently they can even overturn decisions by Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Anyway, the first Indian case has been referred. It's a post made on a Facebook group. It shows a picture of a man with a sheathed sword, and it also has the hashtag of President Emmanuel Macron and some text that says Indian Muslims. Apparently, it incites violence against President Emmanuel Macron, and it will be interesting to see how the Facebook Oversight Board rules on this one. That's about it for this week's episode, guys. As always, if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, go over to YouTube and subscribe to the Social.in account. Ring that notification bell so that you never miss a video, and I will see you guys in the next episode.